is an 80-20 grant, so.
It's a
only 20.
$145,000 difference.
And at least it's a local contractor too, Pyramid.
I don't know if they're a local contractor, but I think the gentleman who's
They've got local.
the local staff, right? I want to clarify one thing that Jake said very, very quickly, that we have applied for and received approval for the grant for the engineering portion of this. And now we've got the bid, we'll get the bid approved, and now they'll actually submit them. I think it's the September Board of Aviation, Virginia Department of Aviation Board meeting where our grant request will be considered. And that's how the process is working. It's a little different. We actually apply for the grant after we get the bid. Kind of an oddball thing, but and we expect that to be at the September Department of Aviation Board meeting.
And the reason for that is, I don't know the reason the Department of Aviation moves like that, but typically once they approve your engineering, as long as they believe the bid's reasonable, then.
Are you asking for this bid to be approved?
I am.
You've heard the manager's request. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Mr. Miller moved to approve the low bid. Is there a second?
Second.
Chairman Almond, second.
But not expended until grant approval.
Contingent on grant approval, absolutely.
Can you have it open for discussion?
It is open, sir. You have the floor.
I want to ask a rookie question, if I could. Why do we have an airport?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, the town of Blackstone has had an airport out there for many, many years. And when the Department of Army and the town of Blackstone in 1984 negotiated a settlement, it was just a municipal airport. Alan C. Perkinson, I guess, was very active with the airport. In the early 80s, the town and the Department of Army, because it was active duty at the time, negotiated a deal by which the town transferred several hundred acres of land out there to the Department of Army. In exchange, the Department of Army made an agreement that they would build the runway that is there now. Also gave the town, I think it's $199,000 in cash, and a piece of property that now has the new National Guard armory sitting on it. So there was a swap of property. We're different in that we have a joint use facility, and they gave us they clearly defined the 31 acres that we owned, and then we've sold UAV Pro, a couple sections in there where Textron is located now. Why do we have an airport? I guess the town's had one for a long time. I know that's probably a crummy answer, but we do a lot of stuff out there. We do have a fuel concession that most airports would probably really like, because we have a fuel concession. It's not just general aviation 100LL. It's actually jet fuel, and we have a military contract, and we sell jet fuel to most of these aircraft that fly around Blackstone. We load it. We've actually got 3 employees that is part-time of their responsibilities. They go out there at night, weekends, and during the day whenever they're on call and fuel aircraft.
I'm just,
Sorry.
no, I mean, I'm just trying to understand how that airport, I guess, I'll just straight up ask, adds value to us as Blackstone.
It's most small communities have an airport. Crew has an airport. Lunenburg has an airport. Farmville has an airport. If you go across Virginia, most of them are going to have a small one. One of the blessings about ours, because of our gas sales, we're pretty close to self-sufficient, if not self-sufficient.
It pays for these
I would
grants.
say
Your matches for these grants are all paid for by fuel sales.
It's good for industry. I mean, there's right now at a high point there was 130 jobs coming out of there. At a lower point, probably just on our side, probably tier 60. And whenever somebody needs to come in and say go to Farmville or go to a surrounding community, or a contractor needs to come in and work on something, they can fly a private aircraft in, have access to that. During the refugees, when we had the refugees here, it was full pretty much all the time.
I thought, doesn't Pickett have a airstrip and all too?
No, that is
Barfoot, I'm sorry, Barfoot.
that is the military post main runway. They own the runways. We own taxiways, a fueling apron, the administration building there, and some hangars. But those Textron buildings are actually owned by, I'm not sure what the LC is, but UAV Pro is what we know, the FBO at the site. So we used to have a runway many, many years ago, and then the transferred land to the military, and they own the runway. We probably are the one different municipal airport in the area. We don't own the runway. We only own property adjacent to a taxiway that goes out to the runway.
Sorry to drag it out. I just-
Okay.
No, I will tell you this. I feel like the airport is on the cusp being developed and bringing in new industry. And I think it's probably the best investment the town has for what it brings in and for what goes out. So I'm excited about what's going on out there. I've been knowing about the airport for so long, and I think we're doing a great job.
Your share of these grants are wholly covered by the sale of fuel out there. And we're obliged, and I learned that a little bit late, but we are obliged to use all the proceeds from the fuel sales on the airfield. Okay, so that has to be reinvested into capital projects, lighting programs, administration building, hangars,
Pays
things
for
like that.
itself, pretty much.
Pays for itself.
That's good.
I got some questions.
Yes, go ahead.
This Pyramid Electric, where are they out of?
I think it's Midlothian,
Midlothian.
if I'm not mistaken.
I know you met with them before the bidding. Did you meet with them after the bidding? There's a huge difference between prices.
No, I was the only present at the bid.
Um,
I have not met with Pyramid myself. They discussed this directly with the engineers. And the engineers did provide, and Jennifer, and we printed it earlier. I got it right here. I gave it to Jake, if he was gonna read it. But I can read it to you. It's on letterhead of Talbot and Bright. And, it says on June 28th, 2023, Pyramid Electrical Contractors submitted a bid proposal in the amount of $92,000 base bid for the reference project. After review of the proposal, it has been determined that Pyramid Electrical Contractors LC has met the requirements set forth in project specifications and is considered the successful low bidder. To provide a recommendation of award, Talbot and Bright has reviewed the proposals and the contractor's evidence of competency. Through this research, we have determined Pyramid Electrical Contractors LC meets all the requirements of the specifications, and we recommend Pyramid Electrical Contractors LLC be considered the successful low bidder for the work associated with the taxiway and apron lighting rehabilitation construction project. Those discussions before and after were held by the engineer
Okay.
with them, and I assume the other contractor as well.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because, I mean, it's such a big difference. And normally we'll check and see if they're sure about the scope, you know. Okay,
What I
so-
can tell you is the $92,000 was below engineer's estimate. If I'm not mistaken, engineer's estimate was in the 120s, and so it was below estimation.
There's not a lot for him to question in the engineering documents. I mean, it's not.
It's lighting, it's solar lights and a couple pole lights. It's not a massive project.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Miller has moved and Mr. Allman has seconded that we accept this bid contingent upon grant approval and acceptance. I'll ask for a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Nash.
All right.
All right.
Motion carries 6-0. Unfinished business number 3 was added today, the Virginia 250 committee grant. Do you know anything about it?
I really don't.
Can I have Miss Wright come up and brief the council on this? Come on, you know more about it than I do. Well, come save me.
Come save me.
Oh, I forgot about you, Jake. I'm bad night. You may be seated. The floor is yours, Mr. Holmes.
The Virginia 250 committee is pursuing a grant, a $10,000 matching grant to promote tourism through historical signage. It's a 10-10 grant, and it will be in conjunction with the two other towns in the county. So our matching portion would be $2,500, and again, this would go towards historical signage to really preserve our historical sites in the county.
All right, where is that $2,500 coming from? Finance committee.
What we're here for. This was a last-minute addition. This is an addition that was made aware of, being that the other towns are pursuing this. I figured it was worth bringing to council, even though we hadn't had it in the budget, but just so we're not the odd man out.
Is there any questions for Chairman Allman?
What type of signage are we talking about now?
Like the historical signage, when you're driving, you'll have a historical site. I think they're normally metal signs where they'll have, this happened here on this date. This is what it was.
And so how many signs are with this?
I think the signs are pretty expensive.
Come on.
I believe they're about $25 to $3 grand a piece.
What was your question, Mr. Miller?
How
Wait
much
till
are,
you- Excuse me. Wait till you get to the podium. I'm gonna put the pressure on you, get some more
What was
mics
your
in this
question,
place.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am. How much are these posters gonna cost us?
How much are they weigh?
How much are the cost?
I am not sure, but I do know that there's 6. I've been told that there's 6 signs throughout Nottaway County. I don't know how much each sign's gonna cost. I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't know that much about it. I was called last week about this. And DBI we're supposed to send in a support letter, which I'm still waiting on my 5th vote yes as of tonight, so I can submit that tomorrow. We were going to apply to be the DMO. Fun fact, we are already the DMO.
Explain.
Yeah, so the
What is the DMO?
designated marketing officer.
Designated marketing organization. I had to look it up twice, too.
So, anyways, Justin, sorry, what?
It's essentially a designation that a destination organization such as Downtown Blackstone Incorporated can take on that allows us to pursue more tourism grant money. And this grant money requires a destination marketing organization to be the proponent of it.
So anybody in Nottaway County who applies for a Virginia tourism grant will have to go through DBI because we are the DMO for Virginia Tourism Corporation. And it was just gone the wrong way when DBI applied for the DMO. The board was not approached about it or anything. The previous director did all of the application, etc., and applied for the DMO. So it's already in the past that DBI is the DMO, and there's no turning back.
You've polled your board though, right? Is that correct?
As of earlier, I had 4 votes out of 10, so I'm waiting on my 5th yes. I did have a no. I have some people out on vacation, so I understand. Just trying to get to
It's in the process.
5 yeses, and then we can send a support letter to Virginia Tourism as the DMO for this grant.
And time is of the essence, is that correct?
That is correct. The time is of the essence.
I believe your 6 signs are the signs as you enter, such out on 40, as you enter into Nottaway County, there's a sign that says Nottaway County and gives a history. And on the opposite side of that sign, it says Lunenburg County as you're entering into Lunenburg County. And Lunenburg is already approved to pay for half of it, and I think Nottaway, which is the 3 organizations together, 4 organizations,
Right.
are seeking funding to pay for their portion of replacing those signs.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So this signage they're gonna replace was already up. Help me understand, it's something right at the post office. We're looking at some markings like that.
They're replacing those same
We're
signs.
they're
yeah.
replacing those.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted
This
to
isn't
know.
for the 250 Revolutionary War
This-
signs is what
this
they're
is-
supposed to be, right?
This is that.
All of them have some sort of historical
Revo-
context. for-
Revolutionary War context, though, right?
I'm not positive, to be honest with you, I'm not positive all of them are Revolutionary War specific, but I believe that they're certainly all history of Nottaway specific.
Is this the same grant that the county applied for and put $2,500 to?
That is correct.
Okay, so
You're-
everybody's doing their
Everybody's
share.
putting $2,500 in to meet the 10 grand matching.
Right, and we are the D.
MO, DMO,
grant?
No, we're not. DBI.
DBI is.
I got it.
Very confusing. They also asked for me to write a support letter from the town, and I was like, no, this isn't coming from the town, this is DBI. So lots of confusion. So we'll get the kinks worked out, and hopefully we can give them what they need and move on.
But council's maximum liability is $2,500 if they approve this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But there's not 6 signs gonna be in Blackstone.
No.
6 signs throughout the county. I don't know how many will be
County
in
effort.
Blackstone.
Okay. All right. You've heard the report. Is there a motion?
Motion to apply for the grant?
Well,
Motion to s-
we need a motion to spend $2,500 towards the grant, our contribution. There's four identities that are they're contributing $2,500 apiece. We need approval. She's asking, and so is Councilman Allman, approval to donate the $2,500 or participate in the grant.
That is correct. And I apologize for it being a last minute.
Me too, yes. It was actually understood that the town had already given $2,500, and I was like,
This was discussed
don't think so.
months ago, and I think, and Jake asked me a few weeks ago, he said, hey, was this in the budget? And it was actually our understanding that it was gonna be in the budget. But again, with our turnover that we had, I think it got lost in the shuffle.
I'll amend the motion. I motion that we donate $2,500 towards to participate in this grant, and that we allow a letter of support from council.
And the letter of support is gonna be from DBI.
That's from her board then.
Yeah, we don't need to.
We don't
make a
need-
So
motion to do
you
that.
all would give the 25, donate the 2,500, and DBI would
$2,500.
give the support letter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
before the support letter went out, I wanted to poll council and make sure that was something we wanted to pursue, $2,500.
What fund is
So
that,
I-
Mr.
That would be
Mr. Miller,
I would,
go ahead.
What fund is this
rely-
coming up?
I would rely on Philip's expertise for that.
I would say it's something for lodging tax, just because of the fact that
That is
it's a tourist-related
tourist
event.
related, so,
Lodging review.
look,
Lodging or meals, yeah.
yeah.
So I ask you to restate your motion, please.
I misunderstood. I apologize. I motion that we participate in this grant and set aside $2,500 out of the lodging tax revenues or meal tax revenues and participate in this process.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allman is seconded. We're under the threshold for a voice, roll call vote, so I ask for a voice vote to approve the $2,500 participation into this Virginia 250 grant. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm saying aye, but I would like to have more information also than it was just given to us tonight.
Right.
I want to read on what we're doing and what we're putting up.
I can try and get, Greg Doty is in charge of this, I think, who works for Nottaway County, so he probably should be here tonight. I'm just the support letter girl.
So,
There's too many people,
so,
I'll see Greg Thursday night too.
right, and then,
You gonna talk to him? And I will too?
I can talk to him.
Okay,
Being that it's such a countywide effort, there's a lot of,
Right.
there's a lot
that's
of
right.
chiefs in the
Zody's the
kitchen.
chair, right? Zody's the chair.
yeah.
Yeah, you take care of this, please. Cool.
thank you, sorry.
All right, anything else? Ongoing projects now, Manager Van Ormick, dilapidated buildings.
Actually, I do have something to report. We drove, the mayor and I, before council meeting, rode over to 806 Fall Street, and that structure is no longer with us, and it is a pile of rubble, and should be able to finish hauling that off tomorrow. May take another day. It's mighty wet, as is everything in town, to get the final grade and get seating and such things done. So 806 is no longer a structure here in the town of Blackstone.
Be a home rebuilt there.
There's nothing scheduled to be rebuilt.
Is that the property that we had a hard time finding?
We couldn't find the guy for the longest time. Yeah, we couldn't get him to respond to our. He responded initially, but if you remember, he did not notarize his agreement. And at that point, he just disappeared. We couldn't find him. Tessie actually had to file documentation at court stating that we could not find him. And we did receive a judge's order to remove the house. The house had a tree fall on it. It may have been the ice storm. It
Didn't fall on it, it fall through it.
fell through it. It had completely caved in the top of the house. But that house has now been removed.
All right, anything else on 806?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miller has brought it to my attention that maybe 814 Fall Street needs, what are we doing with that property?
Didn't you say something about 814 last month about it being, you were gonna condemn it or something?
Not 814. I don't think the structure is the problem. But if you remember, we cleaned up Ms. Jester's property, which was 802 and 804, and 8. I think it's either 812 or 816. It's the greenhouse. And we had a judge's order to clean up those properties, not with the structures themselves. And we actually cut that road in from behind down that alley, like we did previously, to access the property from the rear, and we removed an appreciable amount of debris from the property. Also found a significant number of dogs chained up back there, and we're working on that as well. It wasn't, that property, there was nothing associated with the structure. It was associated with the accumulated debris in the yard.
That was said last month.
All right. Any questions about any other dilapidated buildings, council? We'll move on to item number 2, meals tax. Nothing to report. Item
Treasurer,
number-
do you have anything additional?
I would like, and add it to our closed session, I would like a briefing update on
We do have a report for you.
current legal pending issues via meals tax.
I'll handle the
I will be
briefing.
glad
I mean,
to.
you don't have to be here, Jay, you know, I think, but I think the council needs to know.
And you
And I
want a
think so.
report on delinquent,
Yes,
delinquent meals tax?
yes, sir,
All right, I'm adding that to the agenda now,
thank you.
certainly. I'm sorry, ma'am. Item number 3 is street projects, improvement projects.
Well, come back from vacation and there's about 100 feet of pavement, one paver width or 1.5 width left to do over on Ep Street. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. I didn't see any egregious spots where they were too low. I think the base was pretty wet over on Ep Street. I think it had rained on it, hadn't settled. The other stuff had settled for a good while. But overall, I walked a portion of it, rode a portion of it. It looks pretty good, and they should be done. If they show up tomorrow and we're not getting rain, we should be done tomorrow. There's really a very, very small amount left to do over near Vernon Road
On Ep Street, right?
on Ep Street. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Additionally, just
Yes, sir. Mr. Miller has the floor.
Well, you know, over there on F Street, I know we talked, and you know, F Street is the only one down in the east end,
you're talking about Hurt Street.
Hurt Street.
It's the only block, along with Dillard Street, that was not addressed. Dillard Street was not done either, but there's only one house facing Dillard Street in that block.
Okay,
Yeah.
so F Street, can we put that in the budget for next year or
Hurt
talk
Street?
about it? Yeah, Hurt Street.
Well, we certainly talk about it, absolutely.
Cause it's the only one
It's
down
the only
in
one
my
that's,
area
that
that
didn't
doesn't
truly
have-
get done over there. Yeah,
Right.
I understand.
You talking about the 25-26 budget?
No, there'd be 24-25 budget.
24, 25.
I did get a message the other day, about Harris Street,
Mhm.
where the curb and gutter stops on the left, if you're going, I guess, north,
At the Tavern Street intersection,
next block down,
Broad Street.
yeah,
Mhm.
Broad. That, it's flooding over there really bad when it rains. I guess it's naturally downhill. One side has curb and gutter, and then the other side has curb and gutter, but then it's
Oh, no, that's down at Irvin Street.
Is it urban?
You gotta be talking about Irvin
Yeah,
Street,
I'd have to
yeah.
look at the map.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
It's gotta be Urban Street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
matter of fact, it's the end of the street.
yeah.
And what happened was they put the rocks over there.
Mhm.
So now that the rocks are being put over there, because I went over and looked at it today, it's not draining.
Okay,
They haven't
move
drained the
rocks.
problem.
That sounds like an easy fix.
And
So
even
we
though,
can ride tomorrow. When we ride tomorrow, we can take a look at it.
yeah, and even though the rocks are on the one side, the water's going to the other side of the street at the bottom by the stop sign and create a big lake. So
There's a drop inlet down there at that bottom, but
yeah,
we'll take a look at it
might be
tomorrow.
clogged or muddy or something.
All right, Wigglesworth, nothing to report. East End, anything to report? We just discussed it, I think.
All we have left to do is a little bit of paving and finish that one house. And I thought he was gonna start while I was gone on vacation, but he did not start, but he has drawn his permits, finish the last house on Harris Street.
I have seen some pavement markings throughout other areas of town.
Oh, yeah.
Just by-
We had 10 other spots that we were gonna patch. 10th Street, there's a spot on College, Amelia Avenue. There are several utility
Did you do
cuts.
the patch of Main Street that was just cut open?
Yeah. I forget nothing. I gotta remember. So there were 10 spots. I can give you the list if you want 'em. But they're marked. Dan and I went out and marked them the day before I left on vacation, and he indicated to me that the paver had been out measuring them and calculating the tonnages.
All right, anything else on that? Taylor Bottom Block Grant.
Planning grant for this project, which was previously submitted to DHED, will be resubmitted on or before the 15th. Of course, I got back from vacation, and DHCD wants to redo some of the interviews of property owners because they said that those are over 6 months old, and so Chassis is going to have to do that kind of thing. 15th wasn't the deadline. 15th is the first day that they would accept a submission. So Chassis is going to be calling a community meeting and doing some footwork down there and legwork, and we need to redo the community profile, which is how many houses are in need of work, what are the incomes, those kinds of things. So we'll have to
Any
update.
action from council this evening?
We're going to reapply, but I think it was the understanding of the council. If you'd like to make a motion to reapply for $60,000 planning grant, you're more than welcome. But we had submitted one time and they ran out of funds and asked us to reapply in July.
I would prefer a motion from council,
No match,
No match, that's all
but
great.
it is $60,000.
move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Nash has moved to approve to resubmit this grant, and Mr. Miller has seconded. Is there any discussion or questions from council? I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item number 7 is the Armory.
This is a big one. We bid it out and received 0 bids back. We had one contractor stand at the door with his bid in his hand, and when nobody else showed up, he declined to submit his. We have a $3.8 million budget, not including soft costs like engineering contingencies. And I can tell you, we're going to have a hard time getting a contractor. And even more so, the contractors that I have spoken to did indicate to me, and I've spoken to 2, that their number was going to be appreciably more than $5 million. So we got $1 million gabber, or we need to reduce scope of the project, or we got to find some more revenue to put to it. We've exhausted a lot of the grant application programming that I'm aware of. I can't say and swear that there's no more, but if we're going to start construction and use this ARPA money by next September, I don't know if we have a full cycle of grant applications to continue with. We have asked the Tobacco Commission to provide us some additional monies for computers, technology, phone systems, the sound systems, that sort of thing, because our USDA application is being held up by Historic Resources, who want us to remodel the building in form and fashion as if we were using historic tax credits. And we're in negotiation right now to see what we can do, because that would drive the total cost of the project immensely higher. They want to save the slate building, or slate roof, and it's impractical. You can't insulate beneath it. You can't. So we lose the R factor of the insulation. It's just, it's one of those crazy catch-22s with government.
Create a list to go down and,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's going to be difficult, and maybe the engineer can do it,
Mm-hmm.
as to line item by line item, what the $3.8 million, or what the possibly $5 million would go to. So then we can look at that scope, that list, and go, all right, this may need to go, or that may need to
Well, we've already started some of it. Some of it included painting the outside, scraping all that old paint off and starting over. And I told them we can live with it like it is the first year, and then we can go to. So there's some things like that that we have taken on.
As to where those costs can be, we still get what we really wanted, but painting outside, to be honest, it's not.
Okay,
It
what
can be
about,
done the next year or whenever.
Windows, good example.
I heard you say something about the elevator. Have we,
We had that discussion with the architect about moving the elevator. Currently, he has the elevator inside the footprint of the building, and one of the contractors indicated to me that's a kiss of death, because they were going to have to dig a pit inside the building, cut the floor out, dig the pit inside the building, put the foundation, and then build the elevator. And I think we found a less expensive solution by putting the elevator actually on the outside of the building. So the elevator construction itself is the same. However, you don't have the uncertainty of putting the base in there. So we're trying some of those things. We can go to, which I prefer to do, more modernized double pane windows. Of course, Historic Resources wants to keep those old windows, which are more expensive, to put back in, so we can save some monies there. So we've got a series of things, but I would like to, if I can, use the Building and Property Committee, if that's agreeable, to come back with some recommendations and bring them to council.
I'm gonna refer these recommendations to the Building and Property Committee.
Thank you.
Anything else about the Armory?
Not at this time.
Okay, I had a new business, number 1, for drainage, but, town's drainage system, but I'm referring that, I believe you're meeting tomorrow afternoon. I'm gonna refer that item to, street and light. So the next item I have is, Police Chief Kuzmiak has tendered his letter of resignation. I believe council received that via email. Did everybody get a copy of it? Everybody get a copy?
Yeah.
All right, may I have a motion for council to, with regrets, to
Except,
accept his resignation?
so moved.
second?
Mr. Nash has moved and Mr. Miller has second. Any discussion? All those in favor to accept the Honorable Chief's resignation indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
I've already thought about that myself. And no, I won't veto it. Motion carries 6-0. Council, may I have permission to work with our clerk, to create a resolution and a plaque to recognize his exemplary service to the town?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Man,
How many years? How many years in Blackstone?
Just about 20 and a
I was about to say it was over 20.
and how many years in upstate New York?
20.
20, yeah. Well, like we spoke about earlier today, I hope you put you first. You've had an outstanding career. I want to thank you for what you have done so far, surrounding yourself with the best possible officers, with the resources that you had, for all that you've done to modernize the police department, the reputation that you and your officers have is we are so blessed, and we take it for granted, but I do not. And on behalf of the town, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Do you
It's
feel-
been an honor and a privilege.
Well,
And I'm sorry to go. It's bittersweet for me.
but I think you're making a wise decision, and we're grateful. I'm also gonna, at this time, I'm gonna refer the chief's replacement process to the Employment and Police Committee. Do you, Mr. Nash, do you feel you need a motion for us to do this plaque and resignate, and,
No, sir.
we're gonna move on? Any other new business?
Thank you.
Just as long as it comes out of the chief's budget, right?
No, that's gonna come out of the, we're gonna take that out of council's discretionary fund.
Negative.
All right. Now is the time for committee referrals, and I think I've done that plenty tonight. Mr. Manager, did you have any other items that you wish me to refer?
No, but I think you, I can't think of anything else to refer to the committee right now. Yeah, I think we hit the building and grounds, and we need to have the building and grounds committee relatively soon.
And
Armory
now that you're back from vacation, Parks and Recreation.
and Park and Recreation.
Outstanding, outstanding. All right, the next item on the agenda is the mayor's minute. I have 5 items that I want to speak of, and I'll try to make it a minute, but don't hold your breath. So the first item is, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Ted Costin, the county administrator, about the school properties. And his office and staff, this Thursday night, will be recommending 2 motions. One motion is to receive the property in question back from the school board, and also the second motion will be to hold a public hearing at a further date to surplus the property. Mr. Costin and I both feel that these motions will pass, and I will be sending an email to you Thursday night after the board meeting. Second item is, you might have to help me with this pronunciation, one of you guys down there. I met this morning with Steve Kopchak, is that correct?
I believe so.
Kopchak, okay. Very nice man. We met this morning about noise pollution in the southern part of town. Philip, Sergeant Murphy, and Chief Kuzmiak and I met with him. He's very reasonable. The chief and Sergeant Murphy, they made a commitment to him that they were gonna handle it, and we're gonna go forward. We're trying to address it. I think everyone knows that it's a problem. Just for the record, I received a very nice text from him this afternoon, that he was very grateful for your time. Very grateful y'all came back after we had an emergency, and used words like professionalism and courtesy. I just wanna let you know, so. That makes me feel good as the mayor to hear those comments, because God knows I hear enough of the bad ones, okay? Number 3, Madam Clerk, please remind me, would you please try to talk with council and get as many, preferably all, members together and have a special meeting to talk with Tessie about her contract and her future with the town. Number 4, DBI is going to conduct a car show at Swartz Tavern on the weekend that we're holding the annual Arts and Crafts Show. The memorandum of understanding, to my knowledge, and you may correct me, Manager Van Orbit, that we've turned over the museum properties to DBI, is that correct?
That's what I remember.
Okay,
Schedule, yeah.
and Jake, everyone here knows that Jake is heavily involved as the DBI liaison. My question to you, Mr. Allman, does council need to take any action? Or,
That's up to you guys.
Unless it's gonna be a street closure, I don't think so.
I don't foresee any street closure.
What is it? What they having?
They're gonna have
Car
a
show.
car show
Over there on the Sports Tavern property.
Sports
like
Tavern
per
property.
usual.
During the Arts and Crafts Festival?
During that,
time?
yes, sir.
They're gonna park the cars on the
On the
tavern
property.
Property?
Normally they park
That's
on the
what-
property.
Yeah, they park them right on the ground, right in front of the
Right.
Yeah,
Mexican
we've been,
place.
it's nothing new, that's something that's
No,
been happening for a
you-
long time.
that's why they had
It's
the
been
cruise.
sometimes it's been tractors,
Yeah.
sometimes it's been cars. sometimes
Cruise
it's been
ins were held there
They used
too.
to do them every month.
Yeah, cruise ins, yeah.
Yeah, and that, but that was where,
Back-
that's where Danilo owned that property that he sold to the Mexican restaurant. Is where
So,
normally, that
As long as
parking.
no street closures, leave it to the capable.
That
DDA.
Mr. Nash recommends common consent that without street closures, y'all are good with it?
Is there, do you need a noise ordinance waiver for any music or anything? Y'all
No,
doing any of
I
that?
don't know of
I
it.
think that would all, for one, all be covered under the arts and crafts.
Right.
Anything the arts and crafts needs, but I
Oh,
couldn't see.
it's gonna be a multi, okay, alright.
All right, I'm satisfied that we have common consent that, you can carry on, and I appreciate the council's support. Already, I'll take a moment to brag on Ms. Wright and her board. Several things that she's done, I'm highly impressed with. She, I think you're at full staff on your board now. You've recruited a lot of very good, well-qualified people. She is, riding the ship at a wonderful pace, and, I think we're very delighted, and I hope you're enjoying your new tenure. Very good, very good.
Do we want the report while we're on this subject?
It's in the informational, we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
The last thing on my mind is that, I made a promise, Philip and I made a promise to you guys that we would talk with the new treasurer about the county dog tags. Philip's vacation, was 2 weeks after this lady's been sworn in. I didn't think it was proper, so be patient with us, and, I'm gonna be contacting her this week and make an appointment, and we'll go talk to her about the town issuing, the county's dog tags. So we're on it, we haven't forgot about it, and it just popped up. Any questions about that? All right, that concludes the mayor's minute. The police report, you have that in your package. Is there anyone, members of council, do you have any questions for the chief while he's here?
When there's something listed on here, does they count the number of calls or specifically the number of separate incidents?
For instance, if it says noise ordinance and there's 10 calls on there, what if 5 people call about that one call? Does it go with?
Would be separate incidents.
Okay.
So a lot of these could be repeat incidents.
No,
Huh?
I think he's saying
Oh, we're gonna opposite out of that.
Separate,
Or they be separate?
yeah, several callers would only be revealed in
just
one
one.
incident.
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
That's a lot.
For the traffic stops, I see 139, that's a lot, wow. We need to slow down in Blackstone. Is that one particular area that's more heavier with the speeding, or you just find that throughout the town?
That's just, Ms. Williams, basically throughout the town, it's not specific to a certain area.
But then you look at the actual ticket charges, only 35 out of those, and that doesn't all include speed. Speed was only a total of 8 or 9.
Most of it was plates and registration.
Yeah.
A rejection, inspection, so.
Any other questions or actions involving the police report? All right, this is the second opportunity for citizens to come forward to the podium and address council. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? I see none.
I have one thing
Sure.
real quick under under informational.
Right,
And I
that's where I'm going
believe
now.
it's the CPA that we have. Lodging for June 20th, $175 at the Hilton in Richmond. Is there no local lodging that can be provided for this person instead of paying $175?
Lodging has certainly been
Where you at?
in that conversation.
Actually,
Well-
I have more questions about
It's on
that.
page 76.
And if you don't mind, I think you and I spoke a little bit, but Philip, while you were on vacation last week, Jackie did want to include it because she wanted y'all to see
No,
what
it's
she
good,
was charging.
yeah.
But according to Jackie, this lady was on the way to somewhere else when she stayed at this.
If it's on the way to somewhere else,
She stopped
yeah.
here and on her way to another place.
So,
Wanted
But
to point
she,
that out.
well, I guess the thing would be on the front end if she was on the way from somewhere, where without, I can see that if you're traveling, one town gets the one you're on the way to, and one town gets where you're,
Her,
that's
her
accurate.
invoice says travel from Williamsburg to Blackstone, then to Woodbridge.
right, and so, and What gets me about this is she got it's not like she got the room the day she was traveling. Like, she got to the second location, was tired from a long day. She got the room the night before. So she really went from Williamsburg to Richmond and then came down to Blackstone in the morning at about 10 a.m. or so, at least after 10, because she checked out at 9:20. I just didn't see why we had to buy her a room for the day before if you're coming in so late. Get up and leave, go to work in the morning, come down to Blackstone, and go to your second location when you're done.
I think that's all, we can assume what you did.
So yeah, $10,000 isn't gonna last long for 8 hours work, one night stay, a day
Yeah.
of meals and gas, $1,800.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but same day, she's here all day, needs a room, stay the night, kind of thing, but.
Town manager, I think, can handle it. I just would rather, if there's lodging involved, rather it be somebody local to benefit from it.
All right, you have before you, in your informational package, several pieces of valuable information. We've had some comments about the invoice. Are there any other comments about your informational?
One more thing about that, Philip, I apologize. I also think her mileage is off. So, at that rate and the distance between here and Williamsburg, we should have probably got charged about $140. I don't think we should have to pay for her to go to her next location.
I think the manager's gonna look into this and report back to your conversation. Is that correct? They're good questions, Mr. Page.
Thank you.
All right, you also have a report, from DBI in here. Does anybody have any questions? We have the executive director here. Hearing none, is there any more business to come before the council this evening? Hearing none, we have a closed session for personnel, town manager, and a report on delinquent merchants on meals tax.
I think it's actually for
Town council.
Town council, personnel, town council, yes it is. Okay,
All right, so
Will you-
we'll do personnel and we'll do legal matters?
legal actions be fine.
You need to read those?
Would you be so kind as to frame that motion?
Are y'all ready now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we are.
So we need a closed session to go, we need a motion to go into closed session under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711, under personnel for counsel, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, and under legal matters for consultation with legal counsel or briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gormas is second. All those in favor to go into closed session for a session pertaining to personnel, town council, and a report on delinquent meals tax, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We now stand in closed session.
Mr. Mayor,